Good morning, traders. Welcome to the Bookmap Platform Details webinar. This is Bruce at Bookmap. Risk disclaimer: trading futures, equities, and digital currencies involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Okay, so the goal of this webinar here is to introduce you to Bookmap. We'll go through the website and just briefly cover some important issues such as defining what Bookmap is, who uses it, how to connect to the various markets, how to subscribe to it, and then we'll jump into the Bookmap application. We'll look at the live market, and we'll start to define the elements on the Bookmap chart so you understand what you're looking at. And then we'll start to analyze some of the order flow along the way. Okay, so that's what this webinar is all about, is the basic education here. There is advanced education that comes with your subscription. There's a 4-part educational course, as well as a advanced order flow webinar every day. Okay, it goes for about an hour, and it starts at 11 a.m. Eastern time, so about half hour. Okay, in that webinar, we look at the live market and go through the order flow analysis in detail, and based on what Bookmap is showing us. So very objective analysis, and then we start to anticipate where price might go based on that analysis. This is all part of the education when you subscribe. Okay, so let's jump into that website and I'll just go through some of the details here. So what is Bookmap? Okay, well, we're a software trading platform. We have a unique way of visualizing the market data. That's the edge here, okay, the visualization. We'll continue on here. Who uses Bookmap? Okay, well, we're traders as well, developed actually from the quant environment and visualizing our algorithmic activity, how we were getting filled. We started to note, though, that this is pretty good visualization that can be used not only for very low time frames, sub-second levels, but also very high time frame levels. Okay, so that opens it up for swing traders, scalpers, day traders, as well as even position traders. And I'll show you that very specifically. Okay, you can read more about the differences here if you like. Connectivity, though, we need to cover this. So we're software, right? So we're not a data provider nor a broker. We connect to 3 different types of markets: futures, US equities, and digital currencies. The digital currency data is free, okay? So no issues there, but for US equities and for futures, you will need to provide the data. Okay, that's not our business. It's from the data providers and brokers. So for US equities, the way that you connect is through DXFeed. So if you're an equities trader, you'll need to subscribe to Bookmap, and then you'll also need to subscribe to DXFeed. Okay, now for futures traders, you have an array of choices: Rhythmic, CQG, Gain Capital, Transact, IQ Feed, Nanotick, and Cedro. All ways of connecting. Even if you have multiple accounts, you can connect Bookmap with, for example, DXFeed, Rhythmic, and CQG all together. It doesn't matter. We offer multiple connectivity, as well as digital currency exchanges as well. Okay, so you can also see here there's some platforms listed: TT, XTrader Pro, NinjaTrader 7 and 8, and Interactive Brokers Traders Workstation. You can connect via the API of these 3 platforms. We recommend, though, to bypass the other platform and go directly with the data providers such as Rhythmic or CQG. All right, pricing and packages. So let's go over this. There's different options now. You can subscribe monthly here. Yearly, you can get 20% discount, or lifetime. Okay, so this is a new option here, and you can see the global and global plus here, the pricing. All right, so let's go over the monthly options here. You can see there's digital and global versions here. Okay, so the digital version is free, as you can see. It allows you connectivity to only one digital currency at a time. That's it. All right, so But the data is free and the market is always open, even over the weekends. So you always have access to a live market if you want to check it out in Bookmap. Now, if you're an equities trader, you get delayed equities feed. If you're a futures trader, well, you can replay a futures file that comes with the download. However, if you want the live information, well, then I would recommend subscribing for a month to Bookmap Global and try it out. Okay, so that's the way to go there. All right, so that's the free version. The global version here, what this allows you to do is record and replay your data. It allows that connectivity to the futures and US equities. And you can also, have up to 20 different cryptocurrencies as well. Okay, so that's the boost up from the free version, and you can record and replay that data. So that's a really big advantage. Now, for the add-on indicators, that's what you get with the Global Plus version. Okay, it's $99 per month if you go monthly. So get the connectivity to the futures, stocks, and cryptocurrencies, but you also get our proprietary indicators package. Okay, we develop these very specific order flow indicators. They're not your typical kind of MACD or stochastics type of indicator. We're looking at very specific order flow phenomena like our large lot tracker that identifies the larger players in the order book. Okay, or our iceberg detector, for example, that allows you to detect when larger players that don't want to show their liquidity in the book, they're hiding it, well, when they're starting to use iceberg order. Okay, so we can detect them. Anyway, that's what you get with the Global Plus version. All right, let's continue on. Subscribe here for the free webinar. That's this webinar here. Some testimonials, and that's it. I would recommend going to our blog here and taking a look at all sorts of trading interviews with a variety, many traders here, as you can see, and just other articles of interest. And then some other resources here. You can go to our YouTube or our Twitter page here. Okay, all sorts of great information here every single day. Need to add something here today, but here's some videos. Here's some other traders taking some trades and some of their setups, retweeted, etc. So some of the interviews, or you'll see all sorts of information here. Anyway, moving along, go to our YouTube page if you want more education. Okay, on the home page, let's just go through some of the playlists. Some Bookmap intro videos here if you're new, then the different features and components, some selected webinars, and then these educational order flow videos here. Okay, I think you'll find these very helpful. Okay, this is what we go through in the advanced order flow webinar in detail. So very short videos go over these concepts of the order flow that Bookmap visualizes. All right, let's jump into the application. And we're looking at the NASDAQ E-mini. And what's going on here? Now, if you're new here, you're going to look at this and think that this looks like something very odd and complex. Okay, well, it's actually very simple data here. We have a unique way of visualizing it. So there's only 3 elements on this Bookmap chart. Now I'm going to take off some of the add-ons here, like our point of control indicator, and let's see, our VWAP and iceberg detector I think are off. No, they're on. Okay, and then you also see a subchart indicator here, a cumulative volume delta. I'm going to close that up as well. Okay, so now we're just looking at those 3 elements on the Bookmap chart. Okay, very simple stuff. 3 elements are current and historical best bid and offer. Okay, the volume here, the dots here, that's the volume that transacted on that best bid and offer. And then finally, you see the heat map. Okay, now the heat map is the element that most traders are unaccustomed to accessing. All this is a recording of where they were bidding and offering. Okay, so let's zoom in here, and I'll just go through that first. Okay, so this vertical white line here makes the distinction between historical, a market to the left here, what just occurred, and then this to the right is the current market. So this is your current best bid and offer. Your last traded volume is this number, and then this is our price ladder here. Now we have all sorts of column data as well, but I'm just going to go through the current order book column, COB. What we're displaying here is liquidity. These numbers here, these numeric values, these are contracts here for the NASDAQ E-mini. These are where traders want to be sellers above current price. Okay, down below, they want to be buyers at these areas. And you can see what we're doing here is we're taking these numeric values, and in this window here, we're transforming it into a heat map. So very high liquidity, like 57 up here, is this orange color, and they just pulled and actually added lower. Okay, we can see that activity, and they they're just pulling again, and now they're starting to chase. Okay, and they're not too interested; they're coming right back up here. Anyway, the numeric values here, they're changing all the time. This is the auction. Okay, what's going on in the auction right now. And we're just taking the numeric values and painting it in the heat map. The scale is up here. So red or orange is very high liquidity, followed by yellow, the white, and blue. Okay, and black is the least amount of liquidity. Okay, so what we do here, when the numeric values change, the heat map changes. Okay, and you can see it changing right now. So what we do though is we take it and then we transpose that onto the chart historically. So those changes that we saw just back here, well, this is what it looked like. This is what that auction activity looked like. We can start to understand now the intent of traders in this auction. Okay? So for example, see how they were starting to chase, and then price started to come back up and they started to pull and add higher. And we're pretty sure that this is got to be the same player, because look how they're pulling at these little moments here and then adding it down here, pulling it down here, waiting just actually a fraction of a second, and then adding it here, pulling here, and then adding up here. Okay, so we're reading this guy's activity. That would be rather difficult to do in a dome. Okay, not only on the offer, but on the bid. See how price is coming down and see them pulling here. And let's zoom vertically a little bit. Well, they were down here on the bid and they started to pull as price came down too. But these guys down here at the 72.50 figure are staying in the book, right? So this is going to be an important area here. 103 contracts down there, by far the highest in the book. All right, so that's what the heat map is. Okay, it's just understanding this auction. Okay. And the insights that it gives you. So we've just been looking at this kind of recent historical market here, right, and current market. So you look at the transaction that just took place here. Okay, these guys are filled. And they also got filled here on the offer. And now they're filled here on the bid. They just bought. Okay, we can make that distinction. A lot of traders are going to say, well, this is all fake liquidity. They don't have the intent to trade. It's not true. This is what it looks like when they transact. Goes right into this area here of high liquidity and starts to transact. Okay, so the volume of these two different transactions here, you can see are 23. And 58 was the total volume amount of liquidity there. They stayed in the book, and then here they transacted right into it, and all of them traded here. Okay, we had let's see, 52 actually here, and then a little bit more, 53 actually traded. Okay, so now you know. Okay, making that big distinction. Okay, we have insight now. These guys are short. Okay? And then look at this, some interesting stuff starting to unfold here. A little bit of volatility. Okay, and finding some sellers. We just found some sellers here. Okay, we actually look for this all the time in the advanced order flow webinar. You can see that they mean business. They stayed in the book, and look at the sellers here though. They took them on. Okay, these guys on the bid wanted to be buyers up here. Sellers took them on, and we see follow through. They started to trade to the downside. Okay, we're looking for maybe more follow through now because we know the sellers are in control. Okay, where would we might go? Maybe down to this 67.5, or high liquidity down here at 66 even. Okay? And well, these guys even pulled down here, say they had no intent to trade. So here's the differences. Intent to trade, we found them and defined them. Not intent to trade, this is what it looks like. They're pulling. Okay? Finding buyers though. All right, so this little insight right here, lots of insight here and some follow through. Starting to find buyers down at these lower levels. Sellers up at the higher levels, buyers down at some of the lower levels. We just tested into 60 down here, as you can see, okay? And yeah, they stayed in the book, no question, right? This is the kind of insight what we're getting. We want to understand though the context between liquidity and the aggressor, okay? That's the important part here. And understanding here, the context is we found the buyers and they traded through. And they traded up in this area. And then look at the buying up here. It starts to exhaust out. Okay? We start to rotate lower and we find some sellers here. Okay? Not much lower, right? But we're up at a kind of a higher area. The sellers certainly took control here. There's no question about it. Right? We even retest these areas here and they exhaust out again, and the sellers really hit the bid here hard. Okay? So a lot of back and forth here currently. Anyway, that's that context that we want to understand, and we've only have covered so far this one element on the Bookmap chart, okay? And that is the heat map. Now we're covering this auction here, okay, in this kind of recent historical market, okay? And also kind of current market where you can see them bidding and offering. But let's zoom out, because this is how you can start to use your dome on much higher time frames. Okay? So Bookmap is not just for low time frames. Look at all this liquidity here. Okay? Look at all the sellers. Look at what is their behavior here? They're being even more aggressive. They want to be sellers at lower areas here. Okay? Here's our 9:30 open right here. Okay? Look at the insights that we're getting here. Right? Well, and what's the aggressor behavior? Well, they're starting to trade into it here. So we might have a nice big battle that starts to erupt here, but selling looks pretty strong here. Okay, we're just looking for that context and follow through on the aggressor. Okay, we can zoom in here and start to get that insight here. Buyers aren't willing to take these guys on, so I'm looking for sellers to come in. Let's see if they can get it down into maybe 64 or 60 again here. Okay, just by reading this. Okay, that's it. Okay, so let's go over the other two elements here on the chart and the advantages of them. Okay, so actually to do that, I'm going to show a candlestick chart here. Okay, this is a 5-minute candlestick chart. And just look at the heat map here with this 5-minute candlestick chart. I mean, you don't get any of this information whatsoever. Okay, very important information. You know, this is we're drawing or starting to anticipate even in this webinar here where price might go. Well, we said 60, right? Well, we just traded through it. So there's even more selling here. So we're looking for even lower levels. Okay, let's see if we can get down to 72.50 here. Okay, so just very simple reads here and putting these pieces together. Now this candlestick chart here is aggregated data within a 5-minute period. Okay, not only do we not see where they're bidding and offering, just because you know not too many people are showing historical depth of market here, but the transactions are completely opaque within this candlestick. Okay? Even with your footprint chart, you're going to see the volume trade on that candlestick or on that bar, but it's still within a period, and that's a disadvantage because we want to understand the microstructure and the volume. So we're getting context of structure. Okay, so for example, we came up into this area here, sold off, sellers came in and started to trend to the downside. Okay, and then this little low here, okay, we usually anticipate those buyers to step in here, okay, right down here, right, because this is where they kind of had that big move to the upside. Well, where are they down here? There's a little bit of a bump here, okay? But the sellers come in and they trade down below that area, okay? They're trying to take control below this swing here. Well, we kind of go sideways here for a bit and then come back up into this area in this range here, okay? So we do find some buyers here and a lot of back and forth actually, but sellers are ultimately taking control here, as you can see, and we trade lower into lower areas here. All right, the buyers do it one more time here. You know, they're still battling here. In fact, we went down below our 60 level. We did not make it to 72.50, but look at the buyers come right back in, okay? And they're showing appetite here. Look at these aggressive buyers. Okay, well, let's see if they can take these guys on and trade through these areas right here between 75 on up to 83. All right. Anyway, as you can see, what I'm talking about here in the non-aggregated data, and what I mean is that these candlesticks, they just give you a periodicity. It could be volume, it could be a range, it could be point and figure charts. It doesn't matter. It could be time. It's still within a period, and that period is not giving us insight. Okay, we're just getting open, high, low, and close. Right? We don't know where the volume precisely traded. We don't know that relationship and context between the liquidity and the aggressor. Okay, like right up in this area here, we're getting a lot of insight here. Well, let me define these other two elements here. So we know what the heat map is. Okay? Now the other two elements, as I zoom in here, are this historical best ask, which is the red line, and the best bid, which is the green line. And then we can see the aggressor here that's trading with market buy orders here on the best offer. So they're the aggressor because they're crossing the spread, they're paying up for it, they hit the market buy button, and they didn't provide liquidity. Instead, they took liquidity. Okay, this is actually what moves price, is the aggressor. Okay, when they start to lift the offer or hit the bid, if they can take all the liquidity at a specific area here, like the sellers did, price will move lower, okay, to the next level, and so on and so forth. Okay, this is actually part one of our educational course, is just understanding the basic market mechanics, why price moves, we go through it in detail here in our educational course. All right, so those are the three elements on the Bookmap chart, getting that kind of context and understanding is essential here to really start to understand why these moves take place. Not only these moves, but patterns. It's really due to the order flow. Okay? So for example, look at this. We just tested into that area of high liquidity. And let's get some insight, okay? Because we tested into it, no question. They're short. They're staying in the book, okay? So there's our answer. And then what was the reaction? Back into the range and actually below the range now. Sellers are starting to take control. Okay, where are they gonna go? Let's get this candlestick off. All right, so looking for them to take this maybe down to the next swing down here. Okay, that's where we kind of broke out from. I don't really see much liquidity here on the bid, except for way down here at 72.50. Okay, so that's it for right now. So we could drop as far as here pretty quickly. In fact, if no one else is willing to buy with their limit orders. Okay. We'll see though. We'll see. Maybe the sellers start to exhaust out. It looks pretty strong to me. Looking for other areas we start to look for is where these moves initiated. Okay, and then we look for pullbacks into those areas here. This is part of the advanced course and starting to understand where the traders might start to support some of these moves. Okay, well, we're continuing lower. We're starting to see that 60 area. Remember, we tested that 60 area? Well, they're back here again, okay, providing liquidity there. Okay, let's see if the sellers take them on. It looks pretty good. All right, and then if they can trade through, and they are. Now we a little bit more, and then looking for the next area, maybe 53. Ultimately, 50 is the area where they've been here for a bit. Okay, so that's where we'd be looking to trade on this move to the downside. All right, any questions? No? All right. Well, anyway, that's the basic kind of overview here, what Bookmap is, how this visualization, what you can draw from it, and start to analyze some of these areas here, really start to understand what's going on in the auction and the with that context with the aggressor. Okay, so just shy of 72.50 here, but it looks pretty inevitable to test it. And not yet. Come on, flush through there. There we go. There's our test. Okay, we made that call back over here. Okay, so I mean, pretty easy call, but anyway, the last few days have been pretty easy calls to read here in the order flow. But really starting to understand that context, and it's due to this context up here. Okay, and the aggressor, they took these guys on, they didn't follow through. Instead, we found sellers down here at these areas hitting the bid, looking for higher liquidity, and they just found it down at 50. Okay, so we're already starting to bounce out of that area, as you can see. All right, and let's see if that's low enough. Is it low enough to find enough buyers? Well, let's see their behavior. And they're starting to come in here, more buyers. Okay, so let's see if they can trade it back up into maybe 63, or maybe even all the way back up here to 70, where we kind of dropped from, maybe a little bit higher. Okay, and if there is enough buying activity, well, we're going to come back up into the high liquidity up here at 80. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. For those of you that are subscribing, we'll see you in the next webinar. Have a good day, everybody, and we'll catch up with you tomorrow.